Hey guys, here's my space-saving end table, complete with book holder. So are you tired of not having anywhere to put your drink? The space that you have is just way too small for a regular end table. Well, don't worry, because I'm going to show you how to build mine. And it fits perfectly. So thanks for clicking on the video. To start, we got this wonderful piece of cedar right here. I'm going to end up making my table out of cedar because not only do I like the look, but it's also a really safe wood. It's for sure not the strongest or most durable wood. So using cedar as furniture wood isn't really a good idea. But this is just a small little table, not much is going on it. And plus, look at the looks of this cedar. I mean, man, it is beautiful. This right here is actually a pretty unique board, just because of how solid red it is on one side, and then once you flip it over, it's completely tan. So I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm going to have to decide which side I want up top. And that's actually going to be a pretty hard decision because I really like the look of this. The red on this side is just beautiful. But the one really big problem about this board, it's got a pretty big twist to it. So to start off, we're just going to go ahead and cut this into sections and then look at it piece by piece. Hopefully each piece isn't too twisted, but just by looking at this, I have a feeling we're going to have to put this through our table sled. So as you can see, here are two pieces that we're going to use for the bottom and top. So here's my flattening sled, but as you can see, this piece, maybe there's a little rocking to it, but it really doesn't move. So actually there's not really any twist in this board. This one's pretty good. But this one, I mean, you can see right away, you can see that there's a lot of twist in this board. So this one will have to be run through the flattening sled to get it nice and flat. So now we got our top and bottom pieces here. And there's no more twist to them, so we are good to go to make these. So in order to actually cut these out, what I'm going to do first is actually make a mold. And then with that mold, I'll be able to make two exact replicas. I'm just going to be using my mold out of plywood. You can see that I already kind of started the design. All I wanted was a circular pattern that was around the edge. This actually sanding disc is actually perfect for this board. I'll only probably be trimming off 1/4 inch on each side. So I made my two circles, and of course I'm connecting them in between. So once I cut this mold out, I'll be able to adhere it onto the board, cut it out from there, making my two replicas. So let's just cut this out. So throughout my woodworking journey, I'm kind of figuring out that making some of these pretty impressive projects is a lot less cutting and screwing together, and just a lot more making these molds and jigs. I'm just making a pretty simple mold out of some scrap plywood I had, cutting it up pretty much as best as I could. And then I'm using my homemade disc sander just to kind of round off the edges and get it as close to perfect as I can. Anyways, when you put it on here, you can see that this mold is just a tiny bit smaller than this piece of wood, and that's perfect, that's what you want. So how we're actually going to cut this out is using my router table. So what we're going to have to do is actually attach this to our piece of wood, and that we just got some double-sided tape. Figure out how this works. There. It's on nice and tight. Catch you over at the router table. Okay, so what I'm doing here is taking out my 1/4 inch roundover bit. I'm also taking out the 1/4 inch collet that's in it. I'm doing that because my new trim bit I have here is actually 1/2 inch. So this is an 1.5 inch flush trim bit. As you can see, there's a little bearing on top. As you can imagine, this bearing is going to ride along that mold that we made. And this 1.5 inch bit is going to cut away at the cedar to make it so that our piece of cedar is the same piece as that mold. And while cutting away at that cedar, I realized I left way too much on the corners. My bit was kind of having a hard time getting through this. So I quick pulled it off the router table and just trimmed off those edges using jigsaw. It is important to keep your piece of wood pretty darn close to that mold. That way your bit doesn't have a hard time cutting it away. And now you can see that that wood's nice and close to the mold. My bit has no problem just tearing through it. And now I got my two perfect pieces. And don't forget, you guys can use this method for anything. A lot of people use it for table-like chairs, or even charcuterie boards are a big one. But I'm not keeping the edges sharp on this, so I'm going back to my 1/4 inch round over bit, and I'm just going to go ahead and get all these edges smooth. Okay, so we got our top and bottom pieces done now. And I got these pieces here, I'm just doing a little bit of experimenting. I want to have some sidewalls on the legs down here, but we'll get to that later. So right now we're just going to work on the legs. And I was looking upstairs where I'm going to put this, and I think I want it to be about 2 feet tall. So since the legs are in the inside, we got to minus the thickness of these pieces from that 2 feet. We're 1.5 inches, but since it did have that twist in it, I did have to plane it down quite a bit. So together we're looking at about 2 3/4 inches. So just 2 feet minus 2 3/4, so 22 1/4. I'm going to be making the legs out of the same material, so I'm going to chop this up. I want my legs to be about 1/2 inch by 3 inches. Sound like big legs, but I like it big and bulky, so. So I grabbed my cuts and I ran through the table saw, and here's that 3 inches that I was talking about earlier. So in order to connect these legs, you can do a couple different things. I know a lot of people like to use the pocket hole jig, and we could put some pocket holes on the inside here. But again, I'm not a big fan of that look, so we're just going to go ahead and put some dowels in here. So when I first started messing around with doing this woodworking stuff, I used pocket holes all of the time. And they're super easy to use, but they don't make a very good joint. So if you want to step up your game a little bit, I mean, just go out and get one of these dowel kits. I think they're like $15. Funny enough, they're actually cheaper than the pocket holes. And it's a lot more time and effort to put these joints together, but they just hold up a lot better. That's just my 2 cents, take it or leave it. So we got all the holes drilled for our dowels on the boards here and on the ends. And they should line up pretty much perfectly. I mean, I did them, so it'll be perfect. But one thing is, I don't want these legs to have these sharp corners on the front. So before we go ahead and glue this up, I'm gonna go ahead and round off the front of these boards. That's gonna be this side on the leg over here, and this side on the leg over here. You're probably wondering why I'm not just doing the whole leg. Well, I am putting some shelving in between here, and I don't want the inside rounded off yet. Otherwise, pieces won't match up correctly. So just bear with me. We're just gonna do one side. Alright, well, I got all of this sanded. I mean, that's just why it's so dusty in here. Oh, yeah, it's in my beer too. A little strange, no sense in wasting it, I guess. But I think I'm ready to glue this thing up. I was just testing it out and making sure that it fit. And as you can see, I got all the dowels in here. They're fitting pretty good. So if you are using dowels and you're making them, like, good for you. That's actually pretty cool. I don't really have the patience to do that, so I just go ahead and buy them. They're pretty cheap. But if you're going to buy them too, I recommend using this one. It's got this weird twist in it. They're a little bit more expensive. I know this is hypocritical because I'm not using them right now, but these ones actually work the best. Double check and make sure everything's square. Perfect. And if you're a little bit out of square, you can clamp it down on the table and kind of move it how you want to, just to make sure that's square. But my cuts were good, and we're all square right here. And just like that, I'm out of beer. We gotta let this dry, so I'll see you just a little bit. Just got some junk laying everywhere all the time. Hey, so our glue up's all done. This thing's actually pretty strong. Solid. So we got this thing all glued together, and actually, if you don't mind the look of this, you can actually just be done. I mean, I think it actually looks pretty cool just like this. It's super simple, but me personally, I kind of want to make this a little bit more functional. Yes, you can still set stuff on top, but I want a little area on the bottom here where you can put books or maybe magazines, something like that. And so far, this has been completely constructed out of one board. So I thought it'd be a pretty good idea if I just finished that using the one board. So if you have a 6 foot wide by 8 foot wide board, just like I did, well, this is just perfect for you, because you should have some extra cutoffs like I do that were extra pieces from the legs here. So these aren't going to make huge shelves on the bottom here, but what we're going to do is cut thin strips of these and then put them down on the bottom here, making just a little area where we can put stuff. And I'm probably just going to go ahead and put some up here too. So this isn't more or less a one board challenge. More so, as a woodworker, you like to preserve and kind of save as much wood as you can. So if I can use these offcuts to finish up my project, hey, that's great. But again, if you guys don't like the look of this, go ahead and just grab a new piece of wood and put some bigger pieces on if you want. Who am I to judge? I do gotta say though, if you are planning on building something like this, it is super nice just to go to the store and just get one piece of wood compared to a bunch of them, and then having a couple extra cutoffs that you don't really need. We got all of our pieces as a nice tight fit. All we're gonna do is glue them in place, and since they're a decently tight fit, no need for clamps. And put it into place. There, and actually, you probably didn't know this, I actually have this thing upside down. Look at that, no clamps needed. Now what's nice about these is that not only is that it's adding just a little insert here so you can put books and magazines, whatever in here. This is actually helping with the strength, not that it needs it, but it is helping with the strength. If any pressure were to be forced on it diagonally, this is going to help these joints. And every once in a while you learn something on this channel. And of course you just want to make sure that these are flush, otherwise it's going to look really weird if it's uneven. They don't have to be absolutely perfect, but as close as you can get it. We're going to come back and sand it later to kind of finish it off. But here we go, we got all these pieces glued up, so we're going to let this dry. Whew, alright, I need a beer. Okay, so it looks like the glue is dried, and here is the product with our new inserts installed on the bottom. And honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the look of these inserts, but I think it does add to it a little bit. It does look a lot better. But since we did glue these pieces on, we do have a little bit of dried glue on here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some 220 sandpaper and then give this whole thing a good sanding. One last time. I know, sanding sucks, but we got to get rid of that glue, so one more time and we are done. Here we go, guys, this is the end. I am done sanding, and to finish it off I just kind of put a layer of tung oil on it, help it also bring out the natural colors of it too. But yeah, this was a very fun project to make. I think it does have a pretty elegant design. I know that's so stupid coming from a drunk carpenter, but this really does look pretty slick. But hey, when you make cool furniture like this that's really customized and really helps you save space when you don't really have too much, it's really just helpful. And when you get done building it, man, you do feel like a really good sense of pride in you. But hey guys, here's my project, so I hope you enjoyed it, I hope you liked it, and I hope to see you on the next video. I'll see you later, guys.